Hey peeps, Jun here. A few hours ago, Anwar says that all official letters to government departments must be in Malay, right? So I think that this is a wrong move at the wrong time. So I'll tell you why. It will cost Malaysia a lot, all right, a lot in the long run. Now, here's the problem, all right? So Malaysia is a small market. We have a very small economy. And if we focus on BM, I understand that this is an affirmative action to preserve Bahasa Malaysia as a national language. But face the fact that Malaysia is performing quite bad, right, at this moment. And remember that all government policies shape our lives and our livelihood, right? So unless Malaysia has a very strong internal demand, right, that they can cut off from this international world, this international market, right? Unless we are so strong that we don't need to interact with other nations, otherwise, this is not a wise move. Right? Because look, Malaysia has been stuck in this middle income country for more than 10 years, right? Our GDP per capita, which means that how much we earn, all right, our take-home pay has been stagnated for at least the past 10 years if you just go Google about it, right? So the bring home salary for fresh graduates stagnated like 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago, let's say 2003 compared to 2023 right now, right? Our take-home pay is basically the same. So, but there's a big problem here is that not only that the take-home pay is the same, but there is also a problem with Malaysian ringgit. The Malaysian currency is dropping, right? It's crazy right now, right? We've just hit new milestone of $1 equals to 3 ringgit and 50 cents, right? It's so absurd right now. If you just look at what is happening, this is crazy, Malaysia. This is really crazy, right? We live in a crazy world. Why? We work harder, all right? As compared to what happens 20 years back then there is not as many graduates, right? Graduates with a bachelor degree. Right now, almost everyone on the streets, they have a bachelor degree, right? And how much are we earning? We're earning the same pay as compared to 20 years ago. But look at the education fees. It increased exponentially, right? And that's not only the problem. Our take-home pay is the same. Our education cost has rise exponentially, and the Malaysian currency has dropped. What it means is that we are actually working much harder, but we are making much lesser money. All right? So the same 50 ringgit 20 years ago, we can buy like a week of grocery stuff, right? But look at what we can buy with 50 ringgit. We can only afford like 2 to 3 days of groceries, right? But compared to like 20 years ago, if I try to recall what happened 20 years ago, that 50 ringgit can supply for maybe a household of maybe 2 to 3 family members for a week of groceries. But as compared to now, if you use a 50 ringgit to just buy any groceries, you can only afford for your own spending for 2 to 3 days. Does it make sense? Does it resonate with your experience? Okay. So the problem is that when you overemphasize BM or you translate everything to BM, right? People don't feel the need to learn English. And let's not stay in the delusion and start to face the song. All latest advancement, all knowledge are in English. Okay, face the truth. If we only set our standard to compare or to compete at the national level, we will suffer horrendously over time in this delusion of being the kampong champion. We are merely copying what others know or what they have translated into BM. And we can't directly access, we can't directly play with, interact, or even challenge these ideas into a higher value of supply or creation. We don't understand the crux of the techniques or the technologies. In that way, in that sense, how can we compare at an international level? Let's just think about what happened like a few weeks or maybe a month ago. There was this first class graduate engineering student. He can't find a job. He has a very poor command of English. So what's the problem here? The government has resorted to a very short-term approach in solving these problems. By forcing and enforcing a greater emphasis of BM, it creates the illusion that other languages are not necessary. We Malaysians, we have lived a very extremely sheltered life. We have subsidies everywhere. And to tell you, we live too comfortably. If one day we don't have, the government don't have enough money to continue to supplement all the subsidies that we have, what we are expecting very soon is that the petrol subsidy will be reduced, right? So when all these subsidies are removed, all, by that I mean all kind of subsidies, including like maybe about egg or maybe about rice and all that. When all the subsidies are removed, we will start to realize the truth of how bad Malaysia is performing. Our economy is suffering. We know that Malaysia's currency has been surprisingly or very disturbingly weak. And because lots of goods or food that we consume are imported stuff, inflation has been crazy because Malaysian currency has dropped disturbingly. And the problem also, our pay continues to stagnate. Our living cost has increased horrendously. The government now tries to attract foreign investors. Good move. But look at what they are doing. They say that, all government communications must be in Malay. So in other words, they're basically saying that, Anwar is basically granting the gold card to government servants and say that, okay, look, you don't need to learn English. If they don't speak BM, ask them to get home, figure it out, and then come back when they know how to speak BM. Wow, smart, so smart. In other words, the government has just erected another barrier to doing business. Okay, so you can only start doing business when you figure out how to use BM. But here's the catch. Malaysia is a very small market, all right? And we don't have that high purchasing power as compared to Singapore, right? The people who can really buy a lot of stuff or have that purchasing power is primarily located in the Klang Valley. And we are looking at about 11 million people who moves in and out of the Klang Valley. But does it mean that all people in Klang Valley can afford to buy expensive stuff? No. Many of us, our take-home pay is maybe around 2,500 ringgit, right? We know that is the reality that we live in. It's very different from what those government officials are talking about. We are suffering down here, but they don't see our reality. So don't even compare our buying power to Singaporeans. Our buying power is far weaker than them. Those foreign investors, so why will they want to go through so many barriers to just set up their business in Malaysia? It doesn't make sense, especially when their market is so small. Remember, compared to other Southeast Asian nations, our human power is much more expensive. That's why Bangladesh, that's why we have Philippine mates, right? We have got Indonesian mates. Why are they here? It's because we pay them much better. And what does that mean? In other words, is that their human power is much cheaper. And in the business world, we want to make profit. Nobody cares about what your take-home pay is, right? They want to maximize their profit. So think about this. If I'm a foreign investor right now looking at Southeast Asia market, as a foreign investor, I won't understand what is Malaysia, what is Vietnam and all that. No, Southeast Asia is a very blurred concept to me. To help you to imagine what that is like, right? Just try to think about, when we talk about Europe, what countries come to your mind? It's basically a lump of countries, right? We don't even know their names. It's the same thing for foreign investors, all right? So if I'm a foreign investor looking at Southeast Asia market, and if I must learn their language to do business, Malaysia won't be my first choice. Why? Because other options are much more attractive. Compared to any other Southeast Asian nation, they are much cheaper, right? Much cheaper labor than, and they have a much bigger population to do those manufacturing stuff, right? So if Anwar argues that, we want to be like an advanced nation, we want to be at the top of the supply chain and all that, rubbish, wrong move right now, okay? Because across the bridge, Singapore, they use English. The barriers are far lower because everyone speaks English there. It is expected that you know how to use English as a command of language to work in that business world. And people are highly skilled there. So why will foreign investors want to take up a more challenging game to come to Malaysia? Why? They don't see a need there. Okay? So that is why this is a very unintelligent move by Anwar. Okay, well, I see the need, I truly see the need to preserve a language, but Anwar did it at the wrong time and in the wrong way. Anwar should have opened up the whole communication with the government so that it can be, people can write in their whatever letters there is in either English or in Malay. Why? So that we don't waste time to deal with all these languages, try to figure it out and create new barriers for our investors or those who want to do business. If we truly care about our economy, we should really prioritize our resources and time on the right stuff. It's not like we have the luxury of time, right? Why? Because the world will not stop for us to catch up. I find that, sometimes our Malaysian government, they live in a fantasy world. They truly live in a fantasy world. So Anwar should upskill the government servants to improve their English so that we upskill the game from being a kampung champion to compete with the world at an international level. We cannot sustain on our own internal purchase or internal market or internal economy. We can't sustain it. If we focus on that, we can't afford to sustain the kind of lifestyle that we want to lead and to live. So fellow viewers, I urge you to not only focus on PM, because believe it or not, we live in an English-dominated world, and you must know how to speak English to survive in this increasingly competitive world. Peace up. Thanks. Bye.